Time now for your tropical update. I'm meteorologist Dan Henry here from the SNN Forecast Center. We have two hurricanes we're keeping an eye on here in the open Atlantic. The first is Maria, which is going to draw a little too close to land for our liking. And the second, and if you can believe that this is a hurricane, this is actually Hurricane Lee, and it is rapidly intensifying over the central Atlantic. Beyond all odds, it managed to survive a treacherous journey across the open Atlantic and is doing just fine out in the central Atlantic now, fortunately well away from land. Unfortunately, though, Maria is going to draw rather close to the Outer Banks of North Carolina by Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, and it will probably do so as a strong Category 1 or perhaps a low-end Category 2 hurricane, and is almost certain to bring tropical storm force impacts and even potentially hurricane force winds to many areas of the Outer Banks. And here's what the latest European model shows. In fact, you can notice how close that center gets to the islands here, and notice how much the storm slows down as it's being pressed down basically by an area of high pressure, which is basically hindering the storm's northern movement. But by Friday, we expect a trough of low pressure to come along and sweep the storm away out to sea and well away from the United States. But before it does so, unfortunately, the eye of the storm could very well track over land. And here's the wind field forecast for late on Tuesday, showing those tropical storm force winds heading toward the Outer Banks, and those hurricane force winds really not too far offshore by Wednesday. So it's definitely becoming more and more apparent that folks in the Outer Banks of North Carolina need to draw their preparations to completion, as by late Tuesday night things are going to go really downhill, and the latest National Hurricane Center projections show 40-mile-per-hour winds are becoming increasingly likely for folks there. As far as Hurricane Lee goes, I really like this hurricane because it stays away from land and it looks pretty on satellite imagery. It's a weather nerd's dream come true, if you will. It's rapidly intensified back into a Category 1 hurricane and is expected to make a pretty little spiral shape over the next few days out in the open Atlantic, well away from any land, and it could well become a Category 2 or even Category 3 hurricane while doing so. As far as how much time we have left in the hurricane season, we actually have a lot of time left, and October actually represents a secondary maximum of activity. So even if we are entering a brief lull right now, at least in Florida, we still have plenty of time that we need to stay aware, stay alert, and watch the tropics very closely.